Let's bring in House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Congressman, you wrote an op-ed about that. You spoke about that yesterday, and you did not vote for impeachment. Neither did Kevin McCarthy. But Kevin McCarthy did come out and say the president played a role in this. This does not mean the president is free from fault. The president bears responsibility and should denounce the mob, and facts require immediate action. He said the president should be censured for his speech, I guess, and for the crowd he told to march. Do you disagree with Kevin on that?
Well, first of all, good morning.
Morning.
And, what I talked about was that any rejection of this kind of violence needs to be unequivocal. You can't say, well, this happened, but, you've got to say it's wrong, anybody who resorts to violence. We've called it out, by the way, last week. What happened was an insurrection. The people that stormed the Capitol, that attacked our Capitol Police, over 50 Capitol Police officers were injured in that attack. I mean, if you're going over police officers and crawling through windows, you're not a guest in a building anymore. You've literally violated the law. That many of them have already been caught and are being arrested, as needs to be the case. But what we didn't see, and this is really the point I was making, is that we call it out when it happens on both sides. When you see all of these Democrats that are only calling it out now, they did not call it out during the summer. In fact, some of them were encouraging some of the violence we saw over the summer, fanning those flames. You can't have it both ways. You've got to be consistent in calling out violence. None of us should support that.
Do you differ from Kevin McCarthy on that, supporting censure, and says the president is not free from fault?
Well, there is no censure before the Congress. All they brought forward was impeachment, which I opposed. But one of the things we also called for, and we actually pushed a vote on this yesterday, was to get an actual commission to look into what happened at every angle. There's been no investigation into this. They literally did an impeachment without even a hearing in committee. That's never happened in the history of our country. If they really wanted the facts, and if they think the facts are on their side, they would have done that. They would have held a hearing and gotten all of this out there, because we know, by the way, the Senate's not even going to take it up at the earliest until the 19th or 20th next week. So there was time to have hearings. They didn't want that. They just want to keep kind of ratcheting up the rhetoric. And what I've talked about is we need to be focused on toning down the rhetoric right now, because people are afraid. When you talk to the folks all around the country, people are very much on edge. We need to ratchet the rhetoric down.
Right. And the 74 million Americans who voted for Donald Trump, what they saw yesterday broke their heart. Ultimately, he was impeached for a second time. But impeachment, Congressman Scalise, is all about removing somebody, an official, from office. By the time the Senate gets around to this, the president will be the former president. So I know that they don't really like the president of the United States on the Democratic side. But couldn't Joe Biden be a real uniter if he said, you know what, Senate, Donald Trump is out of office. He's never going to run again. Let's move on. Let's pick up my agenda. Let's get my people confirmed by the Senate and things like that. Let's turn the page.
Yeah, and I think there is a moment for Joe Biden to do that. And I think that in and of itself would cause some more healing. But to keep going after this president over and over again, when they know he's going to be out of office by the time it's even taken up by the Senate, the country wants to heal. The country, and again, I mean, there are millions of people that are disgusted by what they saw last week at the Capitol, but they're also angry with 4 years of a constant barrage against this president since the day he said he was running for office, let alone the resist movement after he was elected. All the Russian hoax, what the FBI did to try to entrap him, some agents at the FBI during the election, the impeachment hoax. I mean, it was just every single day a non-ending barrage for 4 years. And it's weighed on millions and millions of people who were disgusted by what happened last week, but also were disgusted by the events of the whole 4 years accumulated. All that's come together in a tense situation in our country that we need to be focused on diffusing, not continuing to add gasoline to a fire.
What was your reaction when you heard there were going to be 10 Republicans that were going to vote for impeachment? There they are.
Well, if you look at the stories earlier this week, they were saying it was going to be a tsunami, and literally a number of publications in D.C. said it was going to be a tsunami. That was their word they used, of Republicans voting for it. I never saw that. it was always going to be a very small number. I thought very close to, between 9 and 12 members, and that's where we ended up. But at the end of the day, you saw a lot of members who just said, this is enough. I mean, let's focus on turning the page. Let's focus on moving on, and that's going to happen next week on the 20th when Joe Biden's sworn in as president. This is only going to make matters worse in a country that's deeply, deeply divided right now.
No kidding. But the good news is Democrats have to deal with you. There's only a 10-seat difference between the two, and she does not have a united caucus. So hopefully there'll be some cooperation on all sides. Steve Scalise, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to be with you.